and then it'll come up with all the opportunities that are available in New Zealand. So how I did it was I
driver's license so you can get to and from work easily if I would like you to.
Good to know if you're going to move. Yeah.
You can also find them probably on like paid.
Hello， 大家好，我是住在纽西兰的台湾女生莉亚。那今天这一集呢是关于如何在纽西兰找工作餐饮业篇。那我邀请我的经理 Lian 跟 Dylan。这一集呢，我们会来讨论如何在纽西兰找工作的眉眉角角，也包含了就是像我这种母语非英文的人，在纽西兰会不会很难找工作？我个人觉得这一集非常的实用。那我们到底聊了什么话题呢？一起来看看吧。Let's go go! So how do people find job in New Zealand?
Mainly probably online, like there's websites like Seek. You can also find them probably on like paid.
You can go onto a website called Seek, which is where you search what you're looking for, whether that be accountant or wait staff, or if you want to work in a vet or a cafe, depends on what your profession is, and then it'll come up with all the opportunities that are available in New Zealand. However, how I did it was, because my background's in hotels, so how I did it was I googled the hotels, went onto the website, and then found their careers link. So you'll see a link that says careers, and then it'll give you the list of opportunities that they have available. And that's how I did it, which I thought was better because it's a little bit more personal to apply direct than it is to apply through third-party website.
How about Lex Weekly?
I guess it's different because Queenstown's a little bit more friendly. A lot of other places don't have a lot of, like there are some places in the newspaper that offer jobs, but it is a little bit different. Just Queenstown's a little bit different than other places in New Zealand. It's quite easy in Queenstown to get a job, I reckon.
So will you say the driving license is really important?
It's not important as such, but getting to and from work easily will definitely help you being successful in the job role.
I would hire someone who doesn't have a driver's license. However, Millbrook's a bit of a special case because it is a farm and it's in the middle of nowhere. So driving is kind of essential because there's public transport in New Zealand isn't the best.
Yeah.
Good to know if you're going to move.
Yeah.
Have a car.
Yeah. The public transportation, like the bus to our town, is like every 1 hour.
It's every hour, yeah.
Yeah, every hour.
10 past every hour.
Yeah, and even though like our result offer the shuttle bus, but still like every hour.
Every hour, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you don't drive, you're not going to be able to get to and from many places unless you're willing to wait in the cold at the bus station.
Yeah.
In the winter.
Did they ask you any question during interview?
Yeah, during the interview they ask you just about like your previous experience of what you've done in your previous jobs. They also ask about you as like your character, like what you're good at, like are you trustworthy, are you motivated, are you friendly? And they also ask you, do you have like your full driver's license so you can get to and from work easily if they would like you to. What else do they ask? They ask heaps of questions. They ask like a few scenarios, like if you were put in like tough situations, how would you respond to like the certain situations?
So first of all, I had to try and establish whether they are fit for the role. So that would be things like what kind of hours you're looking for, full-time or part-time, do you have accommodation and a driver's license, just like we were talking about before, and also their visa and what their visa requirements are. So after I ask those questions and they're like yes, and they pass all those questions, I'll continue with the interview and I'll ask them questions just about themselves. Describe your work style in 3 words. How would your colleagues describe you? I'll ask them a bit about their experience. So what kind of experience do you have? For me, it's obviously tailored to restaurants. So I would ask them things like, what's your food knowledge? What kind of food did you serve? Was it casual burgers, salads, pizzas, or was it fine dining? Was it Asian fusion cuisine? And then I'll ask them like, how big of a team have you worked in? Because in Millbrook we have quite a big team. I'll ask them how many covers the restaurant was. What's their wine knowledge? Do they know much about wine? Do they know much about local beers? So it's very tailored to restaurants. But obviously there'll be different questions for different interviews depending on what you're applying for.
So tell about the reference. Does reference really important? important, like from previous job?
You will get reference checked.
Yeah.
I think they do reference checks a lot in New Zealand. I think most places would do a reference check.
Yeah, so when I applied the job, like I put the reference is my previous manager. So actually does Mirbo really call them to double check?
Yes, and it's about a 10-minute reference phone call. And they ask questions. In the reference, they'll say, did this person have any conflicts with any other employee? How is this person best managed? They'll ask questions about your appearance and grooming, just to say that you were presentable when you were at work. How was your relationship with your colleagues? On the top of my head, I can't remember all of them, but it's about a 7-minute reference check.
Oh, really?
They record it. I can play the phone call that they have and listen. I don't think I listened to yours then.
I don't honestly remember they called my manager because I told my previous manager and he said, okay, cool. And then he sent a message to me and say, but no one called me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That wasn't my job. That's a HR job.
Yeah. And I said, oh, okay, maybe they will call you one day. I don't know.
They didn't call you. Well, I trust you now.
Yeah. So what kind of people are you looking for? Like what kind of people you think are we looking for in hospitality?
In hospitality, to be honest, I think you can teach lots of people hospitality and you don't often have to have loads of experience. Like I also really like to give people opportunities who maybe haven't had a background in hospitality, because you can teach it. It's obviously beneficial if you do have some sort of experience, but it's all about personality. Like you got a good personality and you're very open to have conversations with guests and you're very open to, you know, smile and work hard and focus and put your head down, then of course you could have the opportunity to work in hospitality. It's all about personality, I would say.
Can you
Which is why you were hired.
Trial shifts kind of protect the employer, so they're not hiring someone that says they're really good at their job but they're not. So it kind of protects them, as it means that if they aren't very good at the trial, they can be like, hey look, you weren't very good, maybe if you go back and give it a couple of months we might take you on, but for the meantime, yeah, trial shifts are just to protect, meaning that you can't like hire someone and then all of a sudden you can't get rid of them because they are stuck in the job.
Because once you sign the contract,
you're stuck there.
Yeah.
And then once you've signed it, that means you have to get 3 kind of warnings, and then or the company, whatever that you are going for, can let you go. But they have to have it written up. It's a lot harder to get rid of someone now these days. They're all over the world. Like it's a lot harder to get rid of someone without just saying bye. You can't just fire someone. You have to have reasonings why, unless they do something really, really bad, like stealing or doing something really serious. But
yeah, because I've studied human resource before, and things like if you sign a contract and you have to have a meeting with that person before you
can fire someone. You have to give them like a couple of reasons why. You have to write it down on paper and you have to show how you've tried to help this person get better. You can't just it's very hard to fire someone these days.
Yeah, like all kinds of solution in a meeting.
Yeah, trying to figure out how they can make them better, and if they still make mistakes and still can't get better, then they'll fire you. Just because I've tried and then I've tried to figure ways how we can make you better, and then it's still not working, and then see you later, unfortunately.
We don't do trial shifts. However, there are businesses that do trial shifts. So it would be a shift for maybe 2 to 3 hours. You'll get judged. Would be judged.
Yeah.
You get judged on whether you can carry a tray.
Like how fast you are, and how do you respond customer, and can you work like really quickly in the deal the stress?
Yeah, exactly. So it's all just to see if you're fit for the role, really.
Yeah.
Kind of wish that we did trial shifts, but
so why don't we do?
I'm not too sure. That would be a HR question.
Okay, so it's because like every job is not a lot, but 2 jobs I applied in New Zealand, they always ask people to do the trial shift, because sometimes you can't really trust CV. Like
no, for sure.
Yeah, you say like you have experience, but sometimes when you work, people can immediately tell, can you carry the tray, and can you take the order? Can you talk to the customer?
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of wish that we did do trial shifts, but we don't.
Yeah.
Because like you said, sometimes when you look at their CV, I could write anything down on my CV, you know?
Yeah.
But there is places in New Zealand that do it. I think it's just because we're a resort and we need to have some sort of contract in order for them to actually work. So that's the reason why we don't do trial shifts.
Yeah.
Which we should.
So can you talk about a little bit like sponsorship, work visa, like generally speaking in New Zealand?
So yeah, so in New Zealand, it depends if you're an accredited company. If you're an accredited company, you can sponsor. So you would get a sponsorship from the employer, which means that you have a contract to say that you can be in New Zealand if you are working for this employer.
Yeah.
So for me and for you, for both of us.
Oh, not for me. Yeah, not for me. I'm post-study visa.
I'm on a sponsorship visa, so I need to work at Millbrook in order to stay in New Zealand.
Yeah. But let's say if someone who has currently have a sponsorship right now, but that person want to resign the job and find another one, how can they do?
So you have to change your sponsorship to another employer. It has to be like for like. So if you're a food and beverage attendant, you have to apply for another food and beverage attendant position.
It has to be a same area.
It has to be the same position.
Oh, really?
And then you can change the conditions of your visa, which you can apply for. I think it costs $195, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
$195, and then it takes around about 2 to 3 weeks. But you have to go from the same position into the other position.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. That wasn't English. You have to go. You have to apply for the same position that you're currently in. So if you're a food and beverage attendant, you have to apply for a food and beverage attendant.
We just talked about because immigration policy has changed a lot.
Yeah.
I think it has changed. It always changing like every few months. So after the new policy, do you think what will happen in hospitality?
I feel like in New Zealand, people are going to be struggling.
Yeah.
For staff, there's going to be a massive employment boom. So everyone's going to be looking for staff, but there's going to be not enough people around to take on that role.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a struggle to be able to get people because immigration is just going to be making it harder for people to get into the country in order to work in hospitality.
Yeah, and I think not just hospitality. For example, like agriculture, like kiwi fruit picking. I saw the news the other day. Have you read it? Like they're willing to pay $60 for kiwi fruit picking. Because they can't find people.
$60 what, an hour?
Yeah, but it also depends on how fast you are.
Yeah.
But it's just like it's way much better than what it was because they can't find literally no one wants to do kiwi fruit picking.
And there's a lot, so there's a lot of seasonal work in New Zealand, and to do that seasonal work is really hard. So I actually have a bit of experience. I was stripping vines.
Yeah, it's very hard.
Oh my, it was hard, but I got really strong. And then
I think it will be very hard to find staff because right now, like Queenstown every place is hiring.
Yeah, everyone.
And I heard some business they shut down because they really can't find anyone.
Find any staff, which is very sad.
Yeah, or they have to do maybe before 7 days a week. Now they have to change their opening hours. It become like maybe 5 days a week.
Yeah, exactly. So some of the operations have had to change due to COVID and the fact that there's no staff, like you said. So people are making their operations 5 days instead of 7 days, or making the restaurants open later instead of opening at 8 o'clock. Would it normally used to open? It would open just for lunch at 11 o'clock, or even closing earlier because they know that in the evening at 9 o'clock they're not going to get any other guests come in. So they will shut the shop at 9. And the reason why we're doing that is because the staff shortage in New Zealand.
Yeah. So the last question I just want to ask for someone who is from, just like me, who is from like, is not English speaking country, and English probably is not the best. Like that kind of person, is it still possible to get a job in New Zealand?
100%. Like I feel like the best thing about especially Queenstown in New Zealand is the culture and how there's so many people here that are from all different parts of the world, and often people coming into New Zealand work harder than than others. So I really have not got a problem with someone who has limited English speaking skills, and also my partner's not an English speaker. Brazil. So I'm used to it, and for me, I think an opportunity for everyone to learn is everyone, especially hospitality is all over the world.
Yeah.
So for me, just because you can't speak English doesn't mean you can't serve a coffee.
Yeah.
Not speak English, but if you have basic English skills, I would recommend obviously learning English before you came came to New Zealand. It does help. having conversations with the guests and understand what they actually want does help. So I would recommend learning English. However, I feel like if your English is limited, it doesn't mean your opportunities are limited. Housekeeping, there's so many avenues you can go down, which is not customer facing. And then while you're here, obviously you're going to meet some new people, you can do some English courses, and then you can start doing once you start learning English, you can start going into a career that you want to do.
So IELTS or English certificates is not really important in hospitality?
Not for me.
Not for you, but probably
But it will be. Some other places.
Okay, thank you for today, Lian. See you. Bye.
See you later.
喜欢我的影片的话，不要忘记可以追踪我的 Instagram LiaInNZ， 我会分享关于纽西兰的大小事。那我们就下支影片见喽，拜。